a very good evening to you and welcome once again to Let's Talk Justice, Live Your Rights. It's a special program brought to you by Department of Communications and Information System as well as Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. My name is Musutu Stone. Programming and let me just start by apologizing for Tuesday, where we could not bring you the program because of technical issues beyond our control. As you know, weather patterns in South Africa can be quite very problematic. So it's one of those things that we could not actually do anything about. And yeah, but we'll make it up to you as usual. And tonight, as we are here, we are talking something where we're going to have a better comprehension and a better understanding of this term, intimate femicide. Somebody might be thinking, is it related to homicide? Is it related to pesticides? But no, we will get to hear more about it. And as usual, let me welcome Advocate Praise Kambula. She's here, and not for the first time, of course, with valuable information that you and me, Mlaleli, we're going to be more empowered at the end of the hour. Advocate, thank you so much. Welcome once more again. And thank you so much for your patience and for your time to be here.
Siyabulela and siyabulela nakuba mameli.
Nakuba laleli.
Malaleli. Wow, I'm trying my
You know, South African can be very complicated sometimes. One day you want to speak Xhosa, but in your mind it's Tswana.
Then Zulu comes.
Exactly.
Then another Siswati comes.
We are a very special country indeed.
We are blessed.
Yes. Yeah. And we are talking intimate femicide. And let's break it down for Abalaleli. What is it? How can we say it? Ngesintu? And what are the related cases so that people get to understand what exactly are we dealing with here? Because we normally talk generally about domestic violence.
Yes.
And we do not get to the specific issues that are incorporated within domestic violence. And I believe that intimate femicide is one of them.
Yes, I think that this is a gap in our discourse and public education interventions in South Africa. That we talk about domestic violence, you know, telling people their rights in terms of the Domestic Violence Act, and we do not tell them that the unattended domestic violence or the unreported domestic violence can actually lead to femicide or domestic homicide.
In fact, we can say not can actually. It does at all times.
Yes.
It is a fact
if you are not taking an action.
Yes.
Yeah, that's where you're going to go. You're going to die. You see, because what I would like to simplify and for the listeners is to say that today it's a little bruise. And tomorrow it's a graveside. And this is the payoff line that the department now is moving with, so that people and especially women can understand that it does not take a big issue like a knife or a dangerous weapon for me to begin to run to the police or to take an illegal action. Even with a bruise or any insult, you see, you need to take an action.
Just a violent push.
Exactly.
You know those reactions.
Even the threats of violence, because our Domestic Violence Act defines physical abuse as threats of violence. But then if it is the threats of violence, you must actually, as a victim, believe that the person who is communicating that is the perpetrator, the person that we have a domestic relationship with, has the potential of carrying out that threat. But it's already physical abuse, just the threats of violence alone. And now, going to your question, you were asking about femicide.
That's right.
Simply definition of femicide, it is the killing of a woman or a girl, irrespective of who has actually done that.
Thank you very much.
But then we have a number of femicide, types of femicide. And in South Africa, because as I was hearing you in your introduction, you made reference to intimate femicide.
Yes.
So intimate femicide is just one of the types of the femicide that we have. So intimate femicide, it is the killing of a girl or a woman by a person that woman or a girl or the victim has an intimate relationship with the perpetrator. And now the intimate relationship in terms of our domestic our Domestic Violence Act is quite broad, the definition. It includes one, the romantic relationship.
Yes.
Romantic relationship, I always define it simply for our people to say that it's a heart relationship. You know, it does not have to go to take somebody to bed or what. It's just a heart relationship where you are communicating sweet words and all of that, but you know, romance, people will understand that.
Painting pictures in the air.
Exactly. And we get a lot of that.
We like that.
Yes, we get a lot of that.
We like that.
Then it moves to the next stage. Then the sexual relationship is also part of intimate femicide. Sexual relationship, for an example that people will understand. It is a relationship, you know, the commercial sexual relationship.
That's right.
That relationship with a prostitute, but it does not have to be commercial. You can have a sexual relationship, and it happens a lot at the workplaces or in the neighborhood where people would meet and say, you know what, I'm married and you are married as well, but I'm sexually attracted to you. It's gonna be sex only. Sex only, no heart. So that's how I distinguish it. Romance is heart without sex, and then sexual is sex without heart. And then you have the intimate relationship. It's a combination of both, that one. So it is heart plus sexual relationship combined together, then that's the intimate relationship. But in South Africa, we take all those categories, we call them intimate relationship. So if I kill a prostitute, that's intimate femicide. If that prostitute is a female prostitute, so it's intimate femicide. If I killed somebody that I have just a perceived relationship with and all that, so it is intimate femicide. If that was a perceived romantic relationship, then I have actually committed intimate femicide if I have killed that person.
Thank you so very much, Advocate. If you have just joined us, that is the voice of Advocate Praise Kambula. She's the head of promotion of the rights of vulnerable groups. And we are talking vulnerable groups tonight. Let me just put it clear in this way. Today, we are talking femicide in a sense that we are talking about vulnerable groups called women and children. So I do understand your point of saying, "Namatoda ayahlukumezwa." But let's not talk about that today. We'll talk about it because we have several programs left. And yes, we will be taking your calls as well on 0800 142 446, 0800 142 446. As I was saying as well, that let's not waste much of airtime trying to argue to put a man in the picture today. Let's just give this chance
women
to speak about our women
and girls
as well as girls.
Yeah.
And yes.
Can I just finish the types of femicide?
We will come to the calls. Mark Mtembu from Pietermaritzburg as well as Seppo. We will attend to you just now. Let me just give Advocate a chance to also articulate on that.
There is also intimate femicide suicide. And that type, it is where a person who is in an intimate relationship with the deceased kills the deceased, who is a female, and thereafter kills himself. So it's called intimate femicide suicide. Then you have the extended femicide, and with the extended femicide is where you find a man, wiping the entire family. and kills himself as well. And the reason for those would be probably the economical challenges that he has, and all those, the insecurity, and all those things. And we do have those cases, and many of those cases are coming from men who are in the security cluster. Your security guards, the men who are carrying firearms. We have a lot of those from there. And then the other one, it is the cultural and spiritual related femicide. And in that one, that's where then there is a killing of a woman or a girl for multi purposes, for these powers, the spiritual powers, that if I kill a woman or a girl, I get the womb or the breast of a woman and make muti, then but it's called the cultural and the spiritual related femicide. Then you have the HIV related femicide. That's where then the perpetrator will kill the deceased, that is a female, because of the fact that I have learned that you are HIV positive, or I learned that as the perpetrator that I'm HIV positive, then I kill you, so that by the time that the symptoms come out, then I have a finger to point to, that is to the deceased. So we have all those types of femicide in South Africa.
Very challenging indeed. Very challenging social aspects Advocate is highlighting over there. I also need to highlight one in terms of religion as well, where we've heard a lot about one of the religions where the woman would be raped somewhere. It's not her own doing, but the next thing, once they get to hear it about it tomorrow, the poor woman gets to be stoned.
Look at that.
It's one of those things that we know is quite trending out there.
We are such a violence as a society in South Africa. Something needs to be done.
But we will talk about some of the causes, the jealousy, the insecurities. We will talk about the social framework of our country, because I believe it's one of the main causes of intimate femicide. But anyway, let's speak to Mark. Mark is calling from Pietermaritzburg in KZN.
Msakaza ngibonge kakhulu, ngithathele ithuba ngibingelele kuwena, ngibingelele nakumama Kambula, mina ngilalele kumgungundlovu 107.6 FM, the sound of choice of KZN Capital.
Sawubona Mark, thank you so very much to Mgungundlovu as well as you.
Yebo bhuti, msakazi iyangithinta kakhulu indaba lelo hlelo namhlanje, especially for mina ngoba nami bengomunye umuntu wesilisa okade ehlukumeza.
Hlukumeza.
He was the doer. Angithi Mark?
Yes, I was a doer partner one, but I realized late ukuthi wrong.
Yes.
Wrong. So mina ngiyacourage kwamanye amadoda ngoba especially amadoda ahlukumeza kakhulu abantu besifazane. Ugovernment labantu abahlukumeza mina anikezele isigwebo esiqinile kubona, akungagcini kube 16 days of activism, no violence against women and children. Awube khona njalo, ube khona nje njalo nje uhlezi ukhona igwebo futhi ziqine kakhulu ngoba uma ubheka utholalela indaba uthola ukuthi abantu besilisa bulela umuntu esifazane. Kulezizwe kunenye nje ishow ade ngilalele komunye emsakazo kahulumeni, ngilalele kade kukhulunywa khona ukuthi indoda owesifazane ithatha ifoni yakhe iyadla iSIM card, iSIM card yakhe yamshaya. Lo owesilisa wahamba waboshwa. So okwenzakala la ukuthi lwesifazane uyena futhi hamba uyadropa ama-charges. Lo muntu uzomtrusta kanjani ukuthi ngeke futhi ahlukumeze futhi. So mina ngithi abantu besilisa bebe ngamadoda aqotho. Indoda eqotho ayihlukumezi umndeni wayo. Ifikela ngaso sonke isikhathi. Yisho upartner wayo ayingamhlukumezi. Yonke into ilungiswa ngomlomo.
Exactly, Mark.
Izinto ezenzeka kakhulu egcina abantu besifazane behlukumezeka uphuzo odakayo. Mostly izinto zenza nama-murders zenza abantu besifazane, uphuzo odakayo nama-drugs. Yinkinga yilezi ukuthi kumele zibhekisiswe kakhulu ukuthi inkantolo ayiqinise kakhulu igwebo ngoba abanye kumanje badlengula ingane ezincane. Abanye badlengula upartner babo. Ucake ukuthi ungadlengula umuntu uhlala naye endlini ngoba unkosikazi wakho noma upartner wakho. Fanele umvikele. Uma engasavikele mina kuzoyenzakalani? Yonke into iyonywa ngomlomo, belungiswe ngomlomo. Akungahlukunyezwa abantu besifazane, ngithi phansi ukuhlukunyezwa abantu besifazane. Ngiyabonga kakhulu msanzola.
Yo, Mark, thank you so very much for contributing to this.
Especially
being the first
singamklona kanjani Mark?
Yeah, you are very exemplary to a lot of people, Mark. And also, I wanted to put this to you to say, Mark, we are living in South Africa where we need to also respect our tradition, which also contribute to some of these things to say, umfazi law is supposed to be under me or something like that. What do you have to say about that?
Yabona lokho-ke emsakazi kunzima kakhulu ngoba uthola kakhulukazi lezinto zenzeke ey'ndaweni zasemakhaya uthola ukuthi umama yena akanayo isebe uvo lwakhe uma ekhibeka uvo lwakhe izothi indoda thula mfazi mina ngiyindoda la ekhaya no it doesn't work like that akusebenzi kanjalo kumele kulalelwane ngoba because uma uzoba nama-powers phezu komuntu wesifazane awukho leyo muzi it means I'm abuser ilungelo lakhe nakuthi akhulume.
I bet the traditionalist is going to call in, Mark, and start just chopping everything you just said now. But anyway, listen on the radio. Thank you so much, my leader. All right.
Umak same kill.
Yo. What do you have to say about that, advocate?
Hey,
Sepo, wait for me right there.
Umak raised very important issues. He raised the issue of communication. And that is the major issue. We will find violence in relationships where there is no communication. There might be communication, but not effective communication.
Or it's one-sided.
Because communication that is effective is communication that moves from a level of communicating knowledge to a level of understanding, so that there is understanding between the two parties. Without understanding, if I say to you that do this, I'm actually communicating but not effectively, because you are not actually explaining to me and not getting the side of my story. So he was talking about that, and that is basically the major issue that is actually leading to violence in domestic relationships. And also the issue of the withdrawal of charges that he mentioned. And it's a big issue. And probably you might be surprised if I tell you that in the Domestic Violence Act, there is a provision that is Section 18, which says that prosecutors, before you withdraw, it says that a charge of violation of protection order must not be withdrawn without the permission that has been granted by a senior prosecutor, but it says that the director of public prosecution, or any person who has been designated to do that. Right. So, but you find that prosecutors are actually withdrawing these charges, but then it is also a gap in the legislation because it is focusing on one type of a charge. But what about then the charges that have been an offense that is committed before a protection order is obtained? Because that one, it is excluded. So it's something that we really need to amend and ensure that we force prosecutors not to withdraw these charges. Why? It's because the person who's going there to withdraw that charge cannot think straight. Is thinking that this is the father of my child. This is somebody that I'm economically dependent on. What are my children gonna say? What's my family gonna say? There's shame, there's embarrassment, a lot of issues that are there. So we need then to come up with a legislation that will think for them and actually take actions for them.
All right, let's take this call. People must understand that we're not doing dedications, so we're not pushing calls. So we're pushing content, please. And also, let's talk and focus on the topic at hand, intimate femicide. We are on the 16 days of activism, and we are trying to raise awareness of violence against women and girls. Tsepo? Hey, and that. Atumela receive and tate re utlwa hantle nyana.
Okay, put your car in current because of the into any drop your head charges, you don't know that drop the charges. We didn't tell you what I would do. Any tata, no boom.
Yes.
I drop and then if not come why? If you go police general, how many at all cancel at all drop a change to my police? I didn't get a police station. ha ba dipata go decision ya ga ba ga go cancel go ka ba decision a molao se ba idumela gore tshintse e tsogi a ela telle go bane di ka nna go sa teng ga ngata di sa siama so mo tlhekefatsi ya go sana le ene o
morena
and then nka engwe ba di gore wa bona ga di le ga go sana le be bara sola di go khudumandoro ga le ene e khakala le bentata bona e nka ba khona go le le ka go gana go nka bo khona gana
I wish they could be invited at some point, Tshepo, in Nicewa. I wish they could be invited. The rural version of that, Tshepo, let's just put it straight out there. The rural version of it, because we got all these NGOs in Braamfontein. We got all these NGOs in Pretoria CBD. But in Malamulela, do you have one? That's the question. Thank you, Morenak. Morena Tshepo ke lebogile thata, thanks to Live FM. It's in Klerksdorp. Quite very profound, advocate. First, he's talking about this dropping of charges.
Yes.
To say, maybe let's make it clear, where do these charges get dropped? Is it, and also mix it also along with the withdrawal of the case. This thing is a process where it involves police,
yes,
it involves prosecution,
yeah,
and it involves the court. Now, he is curious to say,
where
does it start and who approves that these things should be dropped? Because at the end of the day, you might not force somebody to actually stick with the case, but what do we do as the department to make sure that we discourage people from doing such? Because in most cases, that's when you see the problem happening.
Exactly. That's a big challenge that we have. But first, to respond to the question is to say that the victim of domestic violence or any victim of crime has no right, in terms of our Criminal Procedure Act, to withdraw a charge. It is the state that makes that decision to withdraw. And the only thing, and people will force, especially, the family members in cases of domestic violence, go and withdraw the charge, go and withdraw. But now, today, I just want the listeners to know and to respond appropriately to those requests, to say that I don't have a legal right. I don't have a right to withdraw the charge. It is the prosecutor's decision that does that.
Shouldn't it be illegal to drop the charge
as
of
this
nature?
I was saying that, remember that I was talking about the Section 18 of the Domestic Violence Act, which focuses on one type of an offense, which is the violation of the protection order, and excludes all offenses then that have been committed before the protection order has been obtained. So it is a gap in the legislation that we need to correct. And we are in a process now of ensuring that the Domestic Violence Act is reviewed for the purposes of it being amended to close then those operational gaps that we get there. But now I was asking the question as to where, it is not right for the police to withdraw the charges. It's not right. It's not right for the police to withdraw the charges. And that also applies to the prosecutors without considering the risk factors. There must be an affidavit that the complainant makes, but that affidavit is an affidavit to request the withdrawal by the state. Remember that when it gets now to the court, it becomes the state versus so-and-so. So it is the state that has then the right to withdraw the charge. And the victim then, all that they do, or the complainants, they write the affidavit and state as to why they want it to be withdrawn. And the prosecutor now needs to investigate the risk factors so that does not withdraw the charge whereas they are tomorrow that victims dies. And I would like our listeners to stop withdrawing charges. Because if you're going to withdraw a charge today to say that he has changed, how do you know that he has changed?
Bring evidence.
How do you know
What
that
kind
he has
of
changed?
evidence do you have?
Because the cycle of violence, there is what is called the cycle of violence. It goes to the honeymoon phase. When they get to the honeymoon phase, that's where then the perpetrator will be taking them out and becoming that man that he was at the time that they met, or the time that the relationship started. But it doesn't mean that this person has changed. Is in a honeymoon phase, and from the honeymoon phase is gonna go to the stand-up phase, where now the victim would walk on eggshells and thinking that he's gonna do it again, and then it goes to the explosive phase, and from the explosive phase then it goes up to the makeup phase. The makeup phase is usually this statements like, I will not do it again if you don't, shifting the blame. So you are and from the makeup phase, then it goes to the honeymoon phase, and from the honeymoon phase it comes back. So it is the time that the victim now learns how to break out of the cycle of violence. And how to break out of the cycle of violence is to take an action. Take an action.
Yep. And then he's also raising this thing of Patko and Eddie, I'm with you, so I'll speak to you just now. We just need to talk these things very, very clearly, because I don't want us to rush into everything and gather many calls and still not saying anything.
Exactly.
So we need to have value in this program where we are not pushing for professional broadcasting. We are actually pushing for content to be understood by people. Now, Brothers for Life and related organizations. He made an example with Brothers for Life anyway.
Okay. And I think, did he not mention the Kulumandota?
Yes, he did.
Yeah,
say
it's our
Kulumandota.
partner.
Yes.
Yeah, we are
These
working
are
with the
actually
Kulumandota.
partners to Department of Justice and Constitutional Development.
In the anti-femicide movement.
Now, his concern is that, which I agree with to some point, as a person who comes from the rural areas, we normally do not see active interventions in the rural areas. We see our organizations based in cities, in towns, of course, for financial purposes, which, of course, in the rural areas, you might even find a house from a tribal authority for free. But you're sitting here in Braamfontein, you're sitting here in Cape Town CBD, in Durban, where there is more money for you to go and ask for funding, because in most cases, these organizations are struggling with funding. But now, in the process, Advocate Kambula, they end up forgetting about people in the rural areas where it is more rife, because we get to hear on Sowetan or in any other newspaper, when you look at the story, it's somebody based in the township.
Yes.
In most cases. And the worst of the worst, it will come once in a year, and it will be somewhere ko Magogong or ko Motong, or somewhere in different places where it is the most rural of the rural. And also, we don't have police stations in the rural areas too.
Hey, that's another thing.
You see, there's quite a number of things, but basically the point here is that we have ignored one part of South Africa, which is rural areas. And we're so obsessed about what's happening only in the cities. How do we correct that?
With our department, we have what is called the Ndabezita program, which is, it's a program that started. Unfortunately, I started that program. It was mine at the time that it started. So it started in 2006. It's a program that is bringing together the traditional leaders. And now we are extending it to the queens and the wives of the traditional leaders to look into the issues of domestic violence. Because why are we excluding them from the intervention process? they are the authorities at rural communities. So the Ndabezita program was actually taking them to educating them about the Domestic Violence Act, about the role that they need to play, in Domestic Violence Act. How do they give even advice, but not legal advice, but advice to the victims to say that this is what you should be doing in this and that and that and that.
Right.
But I just want to say that domestic violence is everybody's responsibility. Everybody's responsibility. So in your location, it doesn't matter where it is, take up the responsibility and start an NGO. And it doesn't matter what kind. You can start a men's organization, because the men's organization, there's always an initiator. You can be that initiator and go to the Department of Social Development to have yourself, qualifying for funding.
All right, let's hold it right there, advocate, and take callers. Patko, Malume Patko.
Abut.
Legaina.
Ngiphi waphila?
Awu ngiphethe ntate.
Yandate Stone ndiyabulisa nakumama.
Siyabulisa Patko.
Ndinembuzo nje emibini. Ndive umama ethetha ngento ye-protection order. Uba ngabe uyaqaphela siyazi uba nguDisemba ngoku. Most protection order ziza kwenziwa. Ndive usithi akumelekanga ibe iyachithwa i-protection order without the senior advocate or umuntu we-legal matters of ukubona ukuthi yenziwa apha epolice.
Is the charge for the violation of the protection order, ne? Okay.
And then after ke ngokuyenziwe le protection order, iswa kutata. Utata kanalwazi yena kufika amapolice athi sign ilokuthi tata khange kuziwe a side of a story sakhe. Ingaba ke into ezinjalo niziqalasela ngaluphi na uhlobo. Umbuzo wami wesibini. Uba ngabe uyaqaphela le topic esithetha ngayo today i-broad sinitshilo, and then ndifuna ukuqonda kutheni ningayi apha kwemisebenzi kwezindawo ufumana ukuthi i-90% ngabantu abangomama abasebenzayo, ufumana ukuthi abanalwazi malunga nale topic lena esithetha ngayo alimina namhlanje. Uba nje umsebenzi hayi ubani ubulewe okanye uhlaselwe ebevela emsebenzini. Xa nothi nenze i-workshops okanye ni-organize a day just i-9 ka-August, umama bayadibana bebonke, and then nani nikhethe a day apho nibiza bonke omama, and then you educate them about le topic yanamhlanje. Because if uyaqaphela most yabantu bayabulawa ubulewe ngumyeni, hayi baye baxabana wahlasela ukuthi abazi abantu ukuthi benzeke ntoni. Eyokugqibela benifuna ukuqonda ukuba ingaba kwi-rural areas abantu abadala okanye abantu abakhoyo ku-rural areas i-79% ngabantu abadala abanalwazi lentwezi ezenzekayo. Ngeli xa bengenalwazi ingaba bangancedakala njani, ngoba ukuba kwixesha elininzi the pamphlet ezikhutshwayo malunga nezitopikezi zingesilungu, azikho ngesixhosa okanye isisuthu osiswati.
That's right.
Zinge-English qha kuphela. Ingaba ingenza njani ukwenzela ukuthi nabantu abakwi-rural areas abantu abadala bakwazi ukuthi nabo bafikeleleke and then bazifundele ngokunokwabo. Ndiyabulela kakhulu Tata Stone, zamamela Takalana.
Thank you so very much, Patko. Thank you to Aliwal North. It's based in the Eastern Cape. Let's move to Kuruman, Northern Cape. Eddie? Hello, Eddie? Eddie? Okay. Eddie just decided to give up. But anyway, Advocate Patko has spoken.
Yeah, he has raised quite a number of issues.
Indeed.
That I think that he was talking about the interim protection order, because it is the interim protection order that is granted, that the complainant is granted without the presence of the abuser.
Yes.
So. Right. He says that then it is served and you are said that you must sign. And there will be, when the interim, first, the reason for us, for the legislation to allow the interim protection orders is because of the fact that a victim may go and apply and need the immediate protection. So we need then to grant that victim the immediate protection. But it doesn't mean that with the abuser or the perpetrator or the respondent, as he is referred to in terms of the legislation, will not have a say. you will come on the return date. And you come on the return date then to give your explanation and your side of story, to respond to the affidavit of the complainant. So as the respondent then, but what the catch about it is that as soon as you have received it as the abuser, you have been served with the interim protection order, it becomes a valid document. So anything that you do that is contrary to what you have been prohibited from doing by the protection order, it amounts to a crime. So you will be charged immediately with the violation of the protection order. And mind you, when the interim protection order is issued, the complainant then has a suspended warrant of arrest, meaning that she can actually have the warrant of arrest executed as soon as it gets violated. Now I was talking about, why are we not talking about this? Patko, we are doing dialogues right now with Mama.
I know, advocate you, highly involved in that, right?
Exactly, it's my program.
It is your program.
To destigmatize domestic violence. Because if we don't start at the family unit, and talk to women, and we will not win it. So we are gathering women to say. Even yesterday I was in was it in Sibokeng or something?
Yes,
so we were there,
and
we were actually talking there to women. And saying that, no, Boksburg, we were in Boksburg.
Oh, yeah.
We were actually talking to women to say that, yes, he has done it, but it is time now that you get healed. Because we have to empower them. We are empowering them with legislation. With the knowledge of the legislation, their rights and all that, but also empowering them with the self-help skills so that they are able to rise up and stand against domestic violence. Because when you are an abused person, you almost lose your identity. You almost lose your self-worthiness. And you look at yourself because you have been told many words that are lowering you, and you almost believe that, and then you end up then not having any moment of having that introspection as to where was I before I got into this? What is it that I need to do to break out of this? So we were actually empowering them with all those skills yesterday, and we are still going on, and we are not going to stop because I don't think that the discourse about domestic violence must be stopped in South Africa for as long as we are still the capital of femicide in the whole world.
All right, that's the voice of Advocate Praise Kambula. She is the head in the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development of the rights of vulnerable groups. And I can tell you, even on Tuesday when we spoke, she was actually planning to go somewhere, which was in Boksburg, by the way.
Yes, Boksburg, yeah.
She was actually telling me.
I was there
we were
yesterday.
trying to check her availability, and and with her hard working, she made herself available to come and talk to us about this. Let's get to the callers, Advocate Kambula. Eddie, I understand you're back.
Eddie? I'm here.
Yes, Eddie, how are you doing?
Ke teng le guy.
Re teng malome.
Mara.
A re bolele marume.
Ke itla le dinta di kgang tse dintle ke tlhoka boroko thata Afrika Borwa tota ruri e tlhoka banna ba batla ipetsang sehuba le basadi ba batla ipetsang sehuba.
Nnete abuti.
Banna le tsa nnete. Ka ba gopola mo lekolong le lengwe la le ditshepo le ga moriri. Moriri wa ga nna le mo verse 9. Or le ka go aga from woman to a wife. Na ke ikuela fela ke dilo tse di experience each and every day. Motho le motho tse a diragala this violence. Na ke ikuela mo baruting ba rona gore ba tshimole go tsaya karolo. Ba itse gore it can't just even it cause a relationship to become marriage. So ba tshwantse ba tsaya karolo from the beginning. Ba ska ba bona fela bogetse ba rona ba dutse mo dikerekeng tsa bone tambo bo ba rona ba dutse mo dikerekeng tsa bone mare ba na le mathata a ba tlhotseng go malapeng ka ntlha ya ya tsona di-relationship ga mmogo le manyalo. So nna e kete baruti ba rona ba ka thimela ba ema ka dinao ba tsaya karolo, because lenyalo kapo relationship e tlhoka counseling gore batho ba tlhaloganye gore le ga go na le go le thata re tshwanetse gore re ikokobeletsane, o mongwe a ikokobeletse o mongwe, and then mme a seke a re a ka gore re ga direke a ba feletsa a bona o mongwe mare a ntse a itse gore ke nako a dutse. So ke yone ntho e causang moya o mobe mo gare ga wa ntate, o feletsa a kwata a dira a ba le gore a feletsa mo a dirile ntho e le gore a na sa a eletsa go ka e dira. So ke tsone tse dingwe gape tse di causang. Le puso ya rona e ke ka tsa karolo mo e shele thata mo goreng borre ba bone mebereko, because ke bone tota gantsi ba affectiwang ke dilo tse di tshwana ka lebaka la go tlhoka. And then ha mme a bona gore tota re gana kampo ke nako a sa bone mmereko, ke sone se nne ba bangwe ba feletsa ba tswa mo go tsone di-relationship, and ka nako ya motho wa modimo ene o ne a neetse motho yo wa pelo ya gago yotlhe, then o patisiwa ke yone. Mare ga re re gore re tlhotlheletsa gore ba nne yalo borre, mare se se botlhokwa ke gore ga o bona gore ga go monate e kete o ka stepa out fela wa emela ko morago. Ga o tlhalositse o boleletse ba ba itseng, like most of the time tshwanetse re be le counseling e le gore batho ba itse gore ga go tliwa mo relationshipeng e na le di-challenge, e na le dilo tse di botlhoko, mare go tlhoka gore re be strong. A me ke ya kalo mosimane wa Kukurumane le tshone ka 98.90
morenaka. Thank you so very much to Eddie Utswale Kukurumane. He's basically just encouraging everybody, particularly the point of spiritual leadership.
That's bad.
Because at some point, we get people who hide inside suits, who hide inside being spiritual.
Exactly.
Bangena umoya labantu. Unkulunkulu yaphila kubo. Kodwa.
Are you sure unkulunkulu yaphila?
Well, that's the look of it. Well,
I like the way that you have put it right now.
Yeah, we see it.
It's the look of it.
We see it.
It's a demonstration.
It's a demonstration. And you know how...
that abuses women.
You know how we normally see people in spirit do and all that stuff, Hey, bazo
actually, I can just act it out right now.
Exactly.
You see? You can do it.
So, he is saying spiritual leadership should be able to guide this, because sometimes siyaxokelana advocate by just being the image that people expect. But inside, it reminds me of one particular drama that was on TV, and this guy was inkokeli yasesontweni. The guy was so perfect and everything and stuff,
but extremely abusive at home.
He was very abusive to a point where he was sleeping with the little girl along with the mother. And the day somebody realized that it's happening, it's actually the girl's chomis, friends. And once they got to know, she told the mother. And once the poor mother got to know and she started raising it up with the church, guess what happened? Later that evening, she was hanged. That's how it was.
I mean, hanged?
Yes.
Okay.
By the very same guy, because now he's killing the evidence, the main evidence, which is the wife. And now he's left with a young little girl. The young little girl is pregnant. And if you ever talk,
that's a powerful storytelling.
Yes.
But I just want to say that that's a huge problem that we are having in South Africa right now. There is what is called the Victim Services Bill, Victim Support Services Bill, that the Department of Social Development is currently developing. I'm part of that, and I supported the inclusion of a spiritual harm. It's going to be the first that we have in South Africa, what is called spiritual harm. In other words, spiritual abuse.
Yes.
Because we're seeing a lot of those.
Very interesting.
We are aware as a department that there are pastors who are having sex with virgins in order to get spiritual powers. we are aware of pastors who are also sleeping or having sex with married women, because the targets are married women from the information that we have gathered, or virgins, and they are sleeping with them, having sex with them, like sexual penetration with the virgin, in order to revive or to gather more spiritual powers. And what they do now, we see them doing all these types of things that they are doing at the churches. So we don't want that. It needs to be stopped. And I might maybe use this opportunity to say that on the 6th of November, 6th of December, we're going to be in Limpopo. We have partnered with NICSA. NICSA is a National Interfaith Council of South Africa and other kinds of religion anyway. We are there. There's going to be a walk. It's a walk against a cultural and spiritual related femicide. We are saying that no more killing of women. No more killing of women to get spiritual powers. No more sexual violence in order to get spiritual powers. And no more human sacrifices. No more vampirism. Because they drink human blood in order to get spiritual powers. Where are we going as a country? So these are the things that we really need to talk about, and you will find that the whole congregation will be in favor of this pastor who's doing all of that. So we need to do that, and we are head on with it as a department.
Let's take Thabo in Limpopo. Where you going? Hello, Thabo.
Hey, Thobela.
Le kae na?
Re gona le kae?
Re gona mo kwele advocate ya re wa tla Limpopo kua ka di 6. Le ba thege ntate, le ba thege lena ba Limpopo le tleng le re gona re bona re tabe ya lokishwa kere.
Thobela nka mo publishing khasho.
Morenaka.
Le se praising Kambula re labogela sedimoshe kere ka mathomo di 16 days of activism of non-violence against women and children. Le ka no re bala ona mo re counting in.
Yes. Thank you so much.
We need men like you.
Alright, tsela mo putisho nga ntshi ke a kwa le ka banna ka mo hlakoreng la rena ka mo rena le basadi ba le reng wa gore ba la tsheki bana ka di toilet ka mokuta uwe ke le tsona ke butisha gore di account ka intimate femicide na go ba engwe ka ba lona mo west re nya go tseba gore motho wa gona le tsena jwang gore a swarwe a ifeme ngwaga e ntšhi go bontsha gore o bolaile morati wa go ba gona le counseling gona mowe e dirang motho ba ka khwetsa gore mohlomongwe ba se monaganong o mo right gore a dire seo nna re lebella ka mo hlakore la basadi gore le bona ya ba ya mana le le ge monna a bolaya mosadi le ngwana ba le ge le mosadi a bolaya ngwana a mo latlhela ka toilet.
Thabo o nketeletse pele wa tseba ntate ke o lebo haholo for that one. We butsitse before ke tla e botsa and re tla e botsa gape. Thank you. Re leboga thata ke be ke le mo weng ka weekend but yeah, it's all good. Thank you so much, Thabo.
Thank you.
Advocate, very, very, very profound point that I wanted us to discuss, because we've been discussing the killing of ladies, the killing of women. We almost forgot about the killing of young girls, the ones who are being abducted for various things, you know.
And
the ones who are being
as
lured,
well.
yes, the ones who are being lured with sweets to do things that they don't know much about.
And sometimes twalad.
There is this pervert who's looking at kids and, you know, trying to brush them up in places that they're not supposed to be brushed. And we're looking at those mamas who feel like this is a big mistake. Why do I have this kid now? And dispose them in a toilet.
Wow.
We got all these, because she was saying, it's not only men who are perpetrating femicide. We are looking at ladies who basically do abortion. We're looking at all those. He's saying, isn't that part of femicide, intimate femicide as well? Because these kids belong to these mothers and fathers.
Okay. A woman who kills a child after birth, not during, after birth, is called infanticide. If that is done within a year of the birth of the child. If the child is 1 year, 1 day old, it's no longer infanticide. But then the killing, remember that as I was saying at the beginning, that femicide is the killing of a woman or a girl.
Or a young girl.
So the girls are covered in terms of femicide. But with the babies, it is infanticide. And I also want also to say that we experience what is called the matricide.
Yes.
The matricide is the killing of one's mother. It's a femicide, but it's also called the matricide because it's a killing of one's mother. The killing of one's father is called the particide. The killing of both parents, as we see also, we have a number of those cases in South Africa where a child will kill the parents or the parents will be killed. So the killing of one's parents is called the parricide. But we also have men who are killed by women. It's called the menocide. But today, as you introduce the topic that is about the femicide, the intimate femicide in particular.
And I'm
but
sure
we
we
do
will
have
get to
all
other
those
topics.
types of femicide. Yeah.
I'm sure we will get to other topics. It's just that today we want to highlight one of the biggest scourges we have, which is...
It's intimate femicide.
Yes, that probably is one of the biggest ones because a week doesn't pass without you seeing that headline.
Exactly.
Police officer shoots wife and shoots himself.
Oh.
We see those kind of headlines. We hear headlines of saying, man kills partner because they refuse them sex. I saw one last week.
Or maybe she's pregnant.
Uh-huh.
Oh, Lord. And they get killed because of unwanted pregnancies, unplanned pregnancies. And the message that I can give to us women, don't think that is going to stay if you get pregnant.
But
there's a great probability that you might be killed, and you thought that you were retaining him, and you end up dying because men sometimes kill because of that, and sometimes they kill because of the fact that a woman wants to end the relationship, and the man will kill. We are dealing with so many insecure women, insecure men, because when you end a relationship, what is making a man to kill you? So we get all of those. So women need to be careful. Don't be in a close proximity if you want to dump him.
But lastly,
send an SMS probably.
Exactly. But lastly, advocate, let's talk the access issue, the security issue. Where is the system adequate enough to actually give people confidence, one, to report, two, to encourage a peaceful social cohesion? Because at the end of the day, there is no exclusive existence of women. There's no exclusive existence of men. We are bound to coexist.
Yes.
And in this world where we coexist, we find these kind of problems. How do we go to a point where we live in harmony and we do not have to worry about, let's say maybe, I'll put it on the NDP kind of like by 2030, what kind of society do we want to see where there has to be peace, there has to be access to anybody who has been victimized, there has to be protection to give women confidence to be able to say, if I go there, the guy is not going to pay money to get the case off the roll. Because we are faced with those kind of discouraging, hopelessness kind of issues when it comes to that.
You see, courts are at the end of the value chain.
That's right.
And this is a social ill. And we are dealing with a broken family unit. And it leads to a broken community and a broken country at the end. So we need to get to healing. If we can, if I can have a moment with you and talk with you and actually make you to change your thinking pattern and to see things differently, tomorrow you will not be an abuser.
But we are still socialized.
So it is about talking, because a legislation cannot change an attitude, but it is communication. and effective communication that can actually change your attitude. So it's all about how you think, how you process it, how you see it, that makes you to be an abuser tomorrow. Because I can be unemployed, I can be an alcoholic, I can be a drug addict, I can be a very, frustrated person, but that will not lead me into killing my woman. So it is about me being reframed, for the lack of a better word. And so we need to continue, having this discourse, and also going to men. Because in South Africa, we ignored our men for a long time. Yes. There is a lack of understanding of what gender equality is all about. The role classification of a man in an intimate relationship. Exactly. So we need then to have this male consciousness in issues of domestic violence. We need to deal with the issues of how to raise a boy child and how to raise a girl child, so that we can see then, boys are not raised in a way that makes them to think that they are superior than girls, and all this role classification in the house, that a girl should be doing this and a boy should be resting or probably doing playing watching TV, as a girl is doing something else, a house chore. So we need to deal with all these things. And also, there is absent fatherhood, solo parenting in South Africa. There are men who are absent. They are either absent physically, and they are either absent in completely from a child's life. Because you can be a present father, but a present sperm donor, but an absent father.
Deliberately or not deliberately.
We need then to educate men about their role, how to father a child. Because how can you know how to father a child if you were raised without a father? So we need to create that and ensure that even parenting, how about having courses on parenting and teach people, all the disciplines about parenting. I think that we will have a better society, because even with us women, especially the career women, our children are raised by our helpers at home. We are not there. We are only giving them money and thinking that that is the better thing.
And also the selfish access of kids, because sometimes the mothers get very selfish about guys accessing, and then we
also have that as well. That depriving a father from accessing a child. So women need to stop that. There must be that kind of a balance, that parenting balance, so that both parents, because a child needs both. A child needs a father, a child needs a mother, and both of them need to be active. We need to stop having the ATM fathers, that I raise my child by giving my child, money and all of that. So we are actually a broken society, and brokenness needs only healing.
You remind me
in
of
order
some
to survive.
With that broken. But anyway, let's.
Yes, broken. I remember that.
Malome Reggie wants to go home, so let's just finish it quickly.
Yeah.
Because he's been making a sign that I don't understand, but I guess that's saying we wanna go home. But anyway, we started a bit later, so I thought maybe we should just take, and I'm sure the stations don't mind. But the last word, advocate. Let's maybe. Your last word. I don't want to shape it. Give us your last word.
My last word is to women. You need to take an action. It's not going to stop until you take an action. When you take an action, you are moving from being a victim to being a survivor. But don't dwell at survivor stage. Because survivor stage, you might stay there with all your emotional challenges, your psychological challenges, and having lost yourself. So you need to go into a program that's going to be helping you to rediscover yourself and to have your identity back and your self-worthiness. And so that you move from being a survivor to being a conqueror. A conqueror now, it is where then you are yourself and you are able to help other people who are also the abused. So we need to have a lot of conquerors in South Africa, and not to remain, as a victim, because when you ignore the punch today, tomorrow it is a graveside. That's all that I need to say to women.
Sure. Advocate Praise Kambula, thank you so very much. There's so much to say, but we only have 1 hour. And we have Malume Reggie who wants to leave now. And,
it's not you, ne? It's really.
Unfortunately. I would sit here with you for the rest of the night, just dealing with this thing.
And
but
we have not even talked about other things.
Exactly.
And how to empower them.
Thank you so very much for this valuable information. And join Advocate as well as other officials in Limpopo on the 6th of December 2017. They will be doing a march along with spiritual leaders as well as traditional leaders and everybody to make sure that we're
going to be in Toyando,
Oh, Govenda.
Toyando.
Univen, Makado.
The departure point is the town hall.
Liko Fakri.
And if you are a spiritual leader, wear your gear.
Thank you so much, Rodi Buangamanda, Advocate. Thank you so much to the listeners. My name is Mosoto Stone. Good night.
Thank you. Wow.